Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson, this is Full Time Devils, this is the West Ham preview, and to join me on that, we have got Dan from West Ham Fan TV. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm great, mate. Thanks for having me. Good to finally be on this channel.
And we have got Statman Dave, as usual. We should have Adam McCullough pretty soon as well. But before he gets here, we're going to get stuck straight into it. So there's a few things that we want to talk about. We're going to get Dan's opinion on this as well as a West Ham fan and his perspective on that. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is second place. Now, we're recording this before Tottenham play Newcastle, which could actually confirm us as second place before this game happens. But should we win this game against West Ham, we will confirm it ourselves. Dan, what's your perspective on United's season so far? Because as it stands, we could finish second, probably will, and we've got an FA Cup final to look to. Should it be a bit more positive than it maybe is for us lot at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, from an outside looking in, I think it's been a real positive season for you guys because if you look at, obviously, since Fergie left, every season, since Mourinho's come in, you've progressed. Since, obviously, the Van Gaal and the Moyes days, you've progressed. Obviously, been winning trophies. Now you're going to finish second. If it weren't for, like, this freak season that City have had, you guys, could potentially be champions. And I think it is just a crazy freak season for them. So, yeah, I think you guys have had a pretty good season, and you guys just need to build and get some new players in, some fullbacks or something, and you'll be challenging next season.
Dave, what's the reason, do you think, for the negative attitude that United fans have kind of got about this season?
I don't know. I think it's the standards that Ferguson set. I think that's it. That Ferguson won the Premier League, 13 times, and he was so successful, the European Cups. And that is the problem, because we were so good that our standards are higher. It's not a bad thing, but at the same time, that second place, you look at some of the seasons under Ferguson. Remember the season when Van Nistelrooy was up front, Ronaldo was just coming through. I think we won the League Cup, but it was a real builder of it. Like the team started to come alive, and I think with this United team, a few signings, like we mentioned, like maybe get some new fullbacks, some central midfielders to reinforce there, we'll start to see some real sort of movement and, of evolution of this team. And I kind of think, looking back, we're not hitting the heights of Ferguson, but Ferguson was Ferguson. He was an unbelievable manager, the best that's ever been, that ever will be. Now we've just got to move on as a football club. And Mourinho, like Dan sort of mentioned, they're progressing. So it's looking good. I'm happy.
Adam is here with me now. Adam,
what time do you call this, lads?
What's your perspective on why there's such a negative feel around what should really be, as Dan and Dave have both said, quite a lot of progression for United this year?
I think it all stems back to that Sevilla game, and I think kind of and the games like West Bromwich Albion as well, where it's not been the fact that you look at the team and you look on paper, and you think second place if we win the FA. I don't think you can always say, put it down to one game. If you win or lose that, it's a successful season because a season's so long.
Well, you
an
can
FA Cup
when it's a cup final.
Yes, but
because look at Liverpool.
But if you
League,
look at it, we've still had progression. Like if you look at it, we're still a better team than we were last season. I think the things that frustrate people are the facts that we haven't yet come to see our strongest 11 or any idea of our strongest 11. You look at the team and the way we're playing. Now, I'm not saying I want to see Manchester United play like Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool or Pep City, but when you look at the way we are playing, it's not. You can't gather a style. Remember under Chelsea, Jose Mourinho's Chelsea, they were ruthless. They scored goals. They were efficient at the back. They attacked while going forward. And there's none of that with Manchester United. We haven't clicked yet. And also, you look at some of our better players, and we're championing the likes of players that should be maybe leaving, and the players that should be staying. There's question marks around all of them. Now, whether that's media, rumours, whether that's the players are unhappy with the manager. Given Jose Mourinho's past, you wouldn't be surprised at that. So football's not black and white. It's a mixture of things. On paper and results-wise, we've improved. But there are still a few things that you can criticise Mourinho for. And I think that goes for every manager. Pep Guardiola, he's done amazing this season. There's still a few things you can criticise him for. And I think that's the same with Jose Mourinho.
Fair enough. Right, the next one we're going to talk about then is Lukaku. So after the Brighton game, Mourinho said, for 10 months I get asked, why always Lukaku? Why always Lukaku? Why always this player? I think he means from why is the guy that starts? I think it's pretty obvious why he starts, but whatever. That guy doesn't have the chance to start. The other one is on the bench. You know why now. So I think that's a bit of a dig at Rashford and Martial. Was he right or wrong to go for Rashford? I'm not asking you because I already know your answer. To go for Martial this way, or is it man management to get the best out of them? Dan, from your perspective, do you think Rashford and Martial should have been given the opportunity? 'Cause I don't know if you caught United against Bournemouth, but those two up front look pretty goddamn good.
Yeah, I think, at least giving them a chance, and because against the smaller teams, you guys have seemed to trip up a bit, and I think those are sort of the games where you can afford to maybe give them a chance to try something different. So, I thought it was a bit harsh, but I kind of understand it because I think the media love to prod Mourinho like so much because they know they'll get good quotes out of him, and I think he just loses it and he just says what he thinks. He's not a politician. He doesn't care. He'll just come out and say, "Yep, look, there you go." And I think he's got this battle going on with the media constantly.
Dave, is it a good thing or a bad thing that we've relied on Lukaku so much throughout this season?
I think it's a good thing because he's massively improved as a player. He's scored more goals than he's managed in a single season this season at United. I think how he's developed as a forward's been incredible. I think he's going to be up there with some of the best players in world football in the coming years. And that's what you like to see. You like to see that young player come into your club, not a complete player. And I think that's this season. He's got so much more to his game now than he did at Everton. A little bit, sometimes he wouldn't work in defence. He wouldn't sometimes make the right runs. He's doing that for United. He's tracking back. He's covering the left back. So it is an interesting one because obviously you'd like that rotation a bit more, or maybe you'd like to see a two-man strike force. So you'd like to potentially see Martial and Lukaku or Rashford and Lukaku. We all want that. That's kind of like one of the things we'd like to see, but it hasn't quite worked out with the signings of Sanchez and that type of thing. But I think we can't take away that Lukaku has been brilliant this season for United. He's arguably been the best player with De Gea. I think he's been the standout player for United. And for a player that's coming in, that's been signed from another club, that is, it's credit to Lukaku for working hard, for getting in with the manager that he's worked under before. So I think it's not about the other players for me. It's about celebrating what Romelu Lukaku has done for Man United.
I think it was just another press conference where Jose Mourinho was so wide of the mark. It was unbelievable because when you look at it and the criticisms Manchester United have had or the media have had of Jose Mourinho, it hasn't been about Romelu Lukaku. Nobody has been saying Romelu Lukaku needs to be taken out of this team. There's always that Rashford needs to leave out on loan and all that stuff. And I get why he would be frustrated. But we get frustrated about those kind of things. I think what the fans get upset with is the inconsistencies in Jose Mourinho. Like, you are happy to come out and absolutely lay into a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old. But when you're...
That are playing pretty well.
Yes. And Anthony Martial was having his best season at Manchester United up until Alexis Sanchez arrived. He's been on the bench since Sanchez arrived and he's still got as many goals and assists. But Jose Mourinho, he attacks these guys, but then there's these reliable, experienced players that he loves and that have worse performances, and he defends them to the hilt and he continues to select them. That's where people
talking
get angry.
the likes of Fellaini
No one cares about look, Rashford and Martial deserved the dig for that performance. It wasn't good enough. You could argue the manager could help them by picking and playing a team that is set up better to attack, that hasn't got two holding midfielders and one of them being Fellaini, who's invisible. So you look at that and you think, I don't mind if you lay in someone, but be fair with it. And I don't think he is fair with it. And that's the problem. Like, if I was Rashford, if I was Martial, I'd be thinking, but hold on, Ashley Young's been getting away with performances like that, left, right and centre. Smalling the same, Sanchez the same, and you've got to be fair. If I'm a player and I'm sat on the bench thinking,
but you're not being fair here, Matt.
No, if that was me, I would have got bollocked.
With anything.
But
I said Smalling, who's been pretty decent in 2018, is having bad performances here and there. Ashley Young, who's because
he scored a goal against Manchester City that covers up for his defensive inabilities.
Absolutely not.
Because Ashley Young can swing in a good cross every now and then. That covers up for his defensive
But then this
inabilities.
is the thing, like, you
have
can't...
a day off, mate. He had an assist.
Yeah.
You expect Ashley Young to get an assist.
In the Premier League. Best player in the Premier League, he's had him in his back pocket for that game. You can't say that didn't happen. You can't pretend that didn't happen. That wasn't a game where
you credit those players for those performances.
That's that one game. You can't say because he had a good game against Liverpool that he just had some good games elsewhere.
A polar opposite way where it's like you're only looking at the bad when there's been some positives, and that's all I'm highlighting, that it's not all bad with
I'll take this from my personal perspective, Dave. When I do reviews after games, even with Smalling and Young, I'll try and be fair to them if they've played well. Like, me and you always have like a little argument, like, oh, maybe like you'll be, Ashley Young, and I'll be like, maybe I don't want him to start, but he was good today. And I can always be fair, but you know who can't? Jose Mourinho. And I think sometimes he has to take some responsibility on himself. On himself. When we lost against Sevilla, whose fault was it?
I don't think you can say one person. I don't think you can say one person.
It was the players' fault when we lost against West Brom. It was the players when we lost against Brighton. It was the players. But you know what? Those have been different teams. Some of those teams have had your more reliable players in. But it was their fault and it wasn't. But when we win, it's him. Like,
all right, calm down. Right, we've got some comments from you guys at home. So what we're going to see is Sudan says Lukaku's been good this season, but if it helps if you start regulate. I absolutely agree on that one. Other players haven't, which doesn't help. Bang on, mate. Electric FIFA says sell Lukaku, get a card here. How about you just turn the computer off, mate?
The card is good, but
shut up. How about that? Harshad says I'm worried about Sanchez.
Why? Don't be worried about Sanchez. This is the last one you should be worried about. He'll be all right.
He got a cold. Does one of his dogs run off? What are you worried about?
He is a bit weird though with his dogs, isn't it? Has he got a missus?
He's got 2 dogs. NMM SGR says Lukaku has been the most consistent and hard-working, and he celebrates a goal like a fan, which I absolutely adore. Lukaku will be a legend at United. Lukaku just needs good service. That's a hell of a shout, mate. Hell of a shout. I put legend as the very, very, very pinnacle. Don't dish it around like sweets.
Imagine like we created chances for him, like we did for Zlatan last season.
Imagine David Beckham playing with Lukaku.
Oh,
stop it.
Remember how many he used to put on York's head, and York was like...
Yeah, and he was this big.
Yeah, big.
Right, we're going to go to an ad break. If you are watching live, you probably won't get it. If you're watching offline, then you might get it.
Subscribe to Full Time Devils. There's your ad.
Right then, so starting 11 time. Dan, we're going to come to you first. You've got the big shoes of Nick from West Ham Fan TV to fill. He got 11 out of 11. Might not be as easy for you this time around because we've got one fella that we're all a bit like, is he going to play, isn't he going to play, that we all really hope plays. So, Dan, take it away. What's your starting 11? West Ham starting 11.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can see him starting with pretty much the same team that beat Leicester 2-0. We kept a clean sheet, which we haven't had too many of them this season. So, Adrian in goal. As I said, he's kept a clean sheet. Joe Hart's had a few howlers lately. It's a tough thing with our keepers because, you know, we don't have a consistent keeper. It's chopping and changing. But Adrian should be young Declan Rice.
Joe Hart's still going to go to the World Cup, which is insane.
No, it don't look like it. It don't look like it. But yeah, young Declan Rice, who's been brilliant. You know, he's been one of the highlights of the season for us. Seeing one of our young players just come in and just look like he's just brilliant. You know, and some people are saying he's the next Rio or the next John Terry, and that'd be good for us. Then Angelo Ogbonna, who's been decent. Aaron Creswell. So we're going to play. Sorry, I should say 5 at the back. 5 at the back.
Sorry.
And so, but yeah, Ogbonna has been decent at times. I think a lot of our problems has been is the midfield. People seem to just walk through the midfield and our lack of pace. But we'll be playing 5 at the back. So Aaron Creswell as well in that back 5, and then wing backs will be Zabaleta on the right, who's been decent for us, but pace and I think he's been overworked. So
has he been decent for you? Every time I've watched, he seems to have been a bit of a weak link.
Well, it's certain games, like say Liverpool game, he was definitely a weak link there. When we're coming against teams with pace, that's where he comes up a bit. But his work rate has been brilliant. You know, putting in tackles, getting forward. Like for a guy his age, he's been decent, and a lot of our fans have had him down as our player of the season. If it weren't for Arnautovic is obviously like coming in later on in the season and having the season he had, it would have been Zabaleta. It should have been Zabaleta. And then Arthur Masuaku, who's definitely been one of our better players, exciting players.
You spelled Paddy Evra wrong there, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the thing. Moyes might go for Evra. It depends if he's thinking, all right, the Man United link, if that has any effect. But, you know, I mean, I think he's been good for the dressing room, Evra, but we've asked him to come in after not playing much football for a while. Obviously, he had the issues that he had in France. Then he's sort of come in and he's not got to get a consistent run of games. So having Arthur Masuaku, you know, is a player that can get forward. He's got pace. That's something that the fans would like to see. He did bring in Evra for the what was it? It was a couple of games ago. Man City game. I think it was the Man City game. Yeah. And he thought, let's just go ultra defensive, but we ended up conceding 4 goals. So that's the thing with Moyes, and we've done it time and time again. It's like, yeah, playing Evra, he's more defensive minded, concede 4 goals. Then in the midfield, so like I said, this is going to be like 5-2-2 and then 1. You've got in holding midfield Czech Kouyaté, who hasn't had a good season at all, who used to be one of our better players. Mark Noble, the captain, who scored a blinder of a goal against Leicester. Unbelievable goal. We love Noble here, and I think he just needs better players around him. I think that helps him. João Mario, the loan signing, I think he'll play. He got a goal against Leicester. He's been sort of like, he's 50-50 on, a lot of fans are, in terms of Mario, whether we should keep him or not. And then Lanzini, he's a player that can make things happen. I know he's been injured, so he's had on and off. And then, of course, Marko Arnautovic, the star man himself, I think he's been involved in about 15 goals in 18 games. So he's on brilliant form. He's the guy we're looking to.
Awesome. Cheers, Dan. David, do you want to give us your starting 11, please? Are you doing one today, Mike?
Yeah, I have done one. Chris, can you pass me it, please? I've sent it to you. But...
David, do you want to take it away with your starting 11, please, son?
Yeah, I think Mourinho maybe should go for his full-strength side, bar, of course, Romelu Lukaku that's coming back from injury, just because obviously the game at the weekend should maybe be a celebration of the season and get some young players in. Second place is going to be done and dusted after probably this, midweek fixtures. So in terms of the strength at the moment, I think Mourinho is going to obviously go David De Gea in goal, Valencia, Smalling, Jones, Young. I think that's his first choice. And Eric Bailly, whatever's going on with him, I'm not too sure, but seems to be going with Smalling and Jones at the moment. Obviously Young at left back, Matic, Herrera, Pogba. That's the midfield that's working so well. And then a front three of Jesse Lingard, Marcus Rashford and Alexis Sanchez. Max said before that Alexis Sanchez, in fact, got more goals and assists than Anthony Martial, which is complete rubbish since he joined. Sanchez has got 3 goals, 3 assists, and Martial's just on 1 assist. So maybe his fact-checking needs to be better.
Check their season
anyway,
stats. Maybe open your ears, Dave.
In terms of what I think what United should do with the ball, without the ball, it's got to be working hard. I think what you need to do against Chelsea is play quite aggressive, as we did in the league game, and sort of pressurise them deep in midfield. They're pretty bad at playing out, and against Liverpool, they sat so deep. So if United have the ball, it maybe not be the right thing. So maybe giving Chelsea the ball and looking to play on the break for the FA Cup final could be a good way to go. But playing like that against West Ham may not work. It may work. We'll see.
All right. I think we're going to have Adams. I don't know if we're going to get the graphic on screen or not. Looks like Chris is proper flapping over there in the background. But we're going to try. So, Mac, do you want to give us your starting 11, please?
I did De Gea in goal. Valencia, Smalling, Jones, Young. Matic, Herrera, Pogba, Lingard, Alexis, Martial. I think Rashford's going to get dropped after. I think out of Martial and Rashford was the worst.
You think he's going to play Alexis down the middle?
Pretty nice, wouldn't it?
It's different, I guess.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think it could swap around with Anthony Martial as well.
You could play that
Jesse
11.
Lingard. When Jesse Lingard came on the other day, what I liked about Jesse Lingard was that we didn't have. I felt with the midfield of Matic and Fellaini being
what game you on about?
2 holding against Brighton.
No idea what you're talking about.
Thank God you don't.
No idea what you're talking about. That game
with Matic and Brighton. Matic and Brighton.
No
Matic and Fellaini. He basically was playing for Brighton. Sitting there, and Pogba. There was just no one in between them. And as soon as Lingard came on, he gave someone.
That's what he does. He offers options. He comes in an option. His movement. The Van Gaal hangover that I think we have is that players stand in a position and wait for the ball. And when we bring in players or bring on players that are anti that. That's
it's
when
like
I think we start
to
play.
They don't go beyond a man without the ball.
I'm surprised none of you have gone with a back three coming up against the Chelsea side that are going to West Ham side that are going to play a back three, because I do think he likes to mirror the opposition formations in a way like that. And I'm also surprised. Did you go with Lindelof? Actually, I didn't see.
No, Smalling and Jones.
I'd like to see Lindelof because I thought he was excellent against Arsenal, and I think he could be an option in the cup final, despite not playing a lot this season. So I would be very happy to see Lindelof. I think 180 minutes, this week and then this weekend, I think would be a good preparation for him for a cup final. I'm very confident going into the cup final, but obviously we have to get these 2 games out of the way first. I am.
I was after the Spurs game.
Nick, not Nick. It's got Nick down here. It's definitely Dan. Dan, talk to us about West Ham. How's the season been going? How are you enjoying Moise? And is Evra the best thing in the world?
Absolutely not enjoying the season. I can't wait for it to be over, to be honest, Steve.
Same.
It started badly at your ground, as you know, 4-0, got off to a poor start. And I think I read a stat that we have the worst defensive record in the league. We've leaked the most goals. So I've seen us getting smashed all season.
You got to be good at something, right?
But yeah, exactly.
Nil nailed on.
There's been a few little glimpses of joy, but like knocking Spurs out of the League Cup. But mostly it's been a miserable season. Moyes came in, which I think it was right to let Bilic go at the time. I think his heart weren't in it. Moyes came in, things sort of started well, and it's been frustrating under Moyes though, mostly because I can understand grinding out results against like Chelsea, playing defensive against Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United, Man City. But he seems to every game, against Stoke, one of the worst teams in the league who have trouble scoring. He's playing five at the back, and we're still leaking goals. So scoring, we haven't had much of a problem. So I think people just want to see the back of David Moyes, to be honest with you. And I'd agree, just get someone new in and exciting, and hopefully look to move up the table. And Hernandez as well. That's something I didn't mention. Is Hernandez? He's refusal to start. One of the best natural goal scorers.
Has Hernandez started tweeting or Instagramming stuff yet?
What, Hernandez?
That's what we had in 2013, 14. Hernandez bitching about Moyes on the bench on Instagram.
Well, I know Evra actually likes him, which I was shocked at.
Likes who?
Moyes.
That's probably because he gets to bully him.
I was very shocked at when I spoke to everyone about Moyes. I expected him to hammer him, and he didn't. He was like, he felt like, it sounded like he had quite a lot of time and respect
the
for
only
him.
manager that offered him a contract when he got hit.
Yeah.
But I don't think Chico likes him, so I can definitely see Chico side-eyeing him sitting in the dressing room.
Well, Hernandez is crap, so he's got that to blame for himself. I mean,
yeah, but the thing
his
is,
second touch wasn't always a tackle. He'd maybe have a chance to start some game.
We've cried out for a poacher at this club for the longest time, and when we first started getting him, it's like he was put out on the wing. He was playing out wide, which is mental. Then Moyes starts coming in, plays him in the cup as a target man, which is again baffling.
Moyes that.
Lumping long balls to him.
Hashtag Moyes that.
Have you had 80 solo crosses in a game yet?
God.
That's the problem. Just put the ball to his feet in the box, and he'll stick it in the back of the net. But he hasn't been getting a chance. We want to see him up front with Arnautovic. And I think if Moyes stays, Hernandez will go. As far as Evra's concerned, I like him. He's a good character. It was a weird buy at the time, but I think it's been good for the dressing room. The big thing for me is I've heard he's on like high wages, like 100 grand a week.
Oh, I'm sure.
So if we was to look to keep him beyond this season, them wages just aren't realistic for the contribution that he can probably make to the team. So, but I do like Evra.
How injured is Andy Carroll at the moment?
He's back. I think he's been coming off the bench. I mean, he didn't get to come off the bench against City, which he had a big tantrum about and a big falling out. But then he got to come on against Leicester. So he's an option on the bench. I don't want to see him starting. Every time Carroll comes back fit, it's just the managers just go straight to Carroll, stick him on the pitch and long ball it. So I like him as an option off the bench.
David, what should we be worried about? What should we be looking for West Ham?
I think it's both the wing backs. You look at Zabaleta, he's the weakness. First, that 4-0 start of the season, that's where United really attacked West Ham, and Rashford, tore him a new one. Then Martial came on and continued that sort of a situation. So I think he's the avenue that obviously you get down. Of course, he's had a good season for West Ham, but he's a massive, any of the top sides have targeted him and they've usually done well on the back of that. On the other side, though, I think you've got to deal with someone like Aaron Cresswell. His delivery's been fantastic this season, 7 assists in the Premier League, most of any West Ham player. But it's about getting close to him and stopping the ball coming in. He's not naturally going to be the fastest player, so if you get touch tight to him, he isn't going to be able to shift it and go around. But if you give him time to deliver, he can deliver, and that'll be a worry if the likes of Hernandez or Andy Carroll are on the pitch. So United just need to be very aware, and as well, Arnautovic, we always know, he always plays well against United. Arnautovic, he seems to be up for these games, obviously trying to get a transfer to a bigger club, but every single time we've seen him at Stoke or whatever. So again, he's a threat from range.
Arnautovic is a threat. Do you think he's someone we have to deal with?
Budget Zlatan, he is, isn't it?
He is a budget Zlatan, yeah.
I like him. Proper bastard as well. I love him.
We
need someone like that, innit? Just someone just kicking everyone up top.
We got Bay, but
Arnautovic,
but he's not fit. I don't know what's going on.
Like
if anyone's seen Bay, tweet us.
Yeah. If Jose as well, like, why? Oh yeah, we care about England's World Cup chances, so we're not playing our best centre half with a cup final coming up.
Sanchez plays. Martial's not playing, and Rashford's not playing.
As for them, Lanzini, I know Dave spoke about Arnautovic a lot, but I like Lanzini, absolute baller. I say it every time we play West Ham, and he usually has a quiet game. But yeah, he's someone that I like, and you never know. Give him space outside the box, he can create an opportunity or even stick one in the top corner. On what Dave was saying earlier, Alexis Sanchez has 11 goals and 9 assists this season. Anthony Martial has 11 goals and 9 assists
clearly said after he joined the club.
Said.
Go back and review it. You said,
what I said, Dave, if you shut your big mouth a minute. Dave, shut your mouth. Dave, shut your mouth. If you shut your mouth. Dave, just shut your mouth. Why are you still talking?
I didn't want to be a
Why are you
preschool
still
teacher.
talking?
Still talking,
Listen,
mate.
if you
Still
listen,
talking.
what I said was, even though
you
Anthony
didn't.
Martial
You
has
didn't.
been on the
Everybody-
bench
Anyway,
since
I'm
your
gonna mute
mate
myself.
arrived, you think Fellaini's
Oh,
budget?
pair of you, shut up. Christ on a bike. Trying to wrap this thing
Woo!
up. Give us your score prediction.
1-0 West Ham.
Boring.
David, give us your score prediction.
4-0 FC returns, and Anthony Martial stays on the bench, unfortunately, for the game.
We're not winning 4-0 then, are we?
Dan, what score is it going to be?
Well, it's 2 years since that historic final game at the Bowling where we beat you guys 3-2.
Martial scored twice.
Been 2-0
Still
down,
going
so
on
do you know what? I'm going to go for that.
Is that
mate.
how
I'm
long
gonna
it is
go.
as well? Oh my God.
It's been 2 years. Just make sure your coach driver turns up on time this year.
Make sure you don't throw bottles at it, bloody hell. The
I'm
Liverpool and
gonna
West Ham
say-
fans getting together.
I'm going to say...
You had a street party for closing the
shut up.
ground. How about for winning a trophy?
Shut up. I'm going to say 1-0. I'm going to Mourinho our way to second place on a Thursday night. Are you having that?
We can
Get
do
your
that
score
with a
predictions
1-1.
in the comments below. Let us know your start 11 predictions. Go and check out what's going on over at West Ham Fan TV. And go and check out the quiz that we uploaded yesterday. That's on
I
our
got them
YouTube
all right,
channel.
apart from the Charity Shield one.
I don't care.
How much did you get?
I wasn't on it.
No, you watched it, didn't you?
I'm not
you
playing.
don't watch videos without his face on them.
Go check the quiz out, and we'll see you in the next one.